How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to New Game Plus. My name is Bryce Newberger, and today I've got a game for you guys. It's free. It's going to be hopefully fun. It's the nerdiest game I've ever made. It is, what if you were playing Roboute Guilliman and you had Excel? You know, you were in charge of the Imperium. And so first, let me just show you what I'm talking about, okay? So this is an Excel spreadsheet that I have up for everyone. It also operates as a game. So the idea is, can you save the Imperium on the books, right, on the paper? So you are playing Roboute Guilliman. You just woke up, you're in your armor of fate, and as you examine the galaxy, you notice that the Segmentum Solar is unstable, Segmentum Pacificus is threatened, and then Tempestus, Obscurus, and Ultima Segmentum are all essentially lost where it matters. And so essentially in this game, you have to balance the books of the Imperium. Now, this is not a real-time strategy game or anything. It's Roboute Guilliman, just, you know, as you, just assigning forces throughout the Imperium and trying to see, okay, as the War Master, as the Regent of the Imperium, right, what is the right path forward? And you guys can also edit this spreadsheet. So as you get it, you'll get a copy of it. And you might be able to use it for your own crusade campaigns, you know, plug in your own favorite armies, the armies you and your friends are playing over certain sectors, and maybe, you know, launch a large-scale campaign over a certain segmentum, whatever you want to do. But let me show you guys first, how do you get access to this spreadsheet so I can show you where to get it. Now, I host things on the internet, and the best place to host it is on a URL that I already possess. So if you guys go to dwethia.com, you can, so it's dwethia.com. In fact, actually, let me show my screen only. There we go. Dwethia.com. That's how you spell Dwethia. It's a war game I'm making. You scroll down past all the Dwethia stuff, and then we have more games from New Game Plus. And there we've got the Halo Black Crusade. That is a mixture of Blackout and Trench Crusade used with Halo. It's a free game. Enjoy it. We also have the Warhammer 11th preview. That's all the rules I know for 11th edition put on one website, so you can use it to try and play along, taste the rules. But at the very bottom, we've got this Regent of the Imperium. And if you click that, it'll take you to this website, Regent of the Imperium. It's got a little introduction to it. You've got the button to click, which will take you straight to the spreadsheet. You've got a map of the Imperium, so you can know what we're talking about. Here we've got Segmentum Solar, Segmentum Pacificus. Up above is Obscurus. Down below is Tempestus, and over to the right is the Ultima Segmentum, which is the biggest, most, you know, strife-ridden part of the galaxy. And then here is just more lore and a talk about how to use the spreadsheet if you need reminders on what any of the fields mean, written through the guise of you know, a just like an Adeptus Administratum member. So when you get to the spreadsheet itself, however, I'll walk you guys through it verbally here so you can get a good idea of how to play. So it's divided into the various segmentums. So you have the Segmentum Solar, which is where Terra is, Mars, all of the really important sectors. And then we've got Pacificus, and then we go to Tempestus, and then we go to Obscurus, and then the Ultima Segmentum. And then each segmentum, underneath it, we've got the sectors of the segmentum. I don't go to planets because that would be insane. So each sector, how it's doing. A sector can be stable. For example, we look at the Sol system. That's where Terra and Mars are. It's stable right now. And then we have a priority for it. Most of the priorities are somewhere between, 5 and 10. It's priority 100 for the Sol system because you can't lose Terra. You just can't. Or Mars. And then we've got the supply. That is how war-torn that sector is. And so, for example, if you look at Armageddon, Armageddon is just completely depleted. And that means in the hidden math page, there's some hidden data pages. It's getting like a -4 to the overall equation because that area is really war-torn. And then you've got the primary threat, the secondary threat, and the tertiary threat. And some places don't have a tertiary threat. There are some places too, I think somewhere that don't have a secondary threat. And this isn't all the threats in the sector, it's just the main threats in the sector. So case in point for Armageddon, you've got the Orc Goths and you've got the Black Legion on Armageddon causing problems. If you go up to Terra, though, sometimes the enemy can even be your allies. The High Lords of Terra and the Officio Assassinorum are causing trouble, and then there's a little political rebellion going on Terra as well, just some hive gangs and stuff like that. So this essentially tells you the priority of the system, how it's doing on its supply, and the threats there. Now, how do we fix that, right? And overall, we've got the overall status of the segmentum. So the Segmentum Solar is unstable. As Roboute's woken up, he's got to stabilize it. And it's a priority 100 system, right? Because it's a very important system. And the goal of the game is to get every single one of these segmentums to the stable position. Now, you might not be able to get all of your, and I don't think you can't get all the sectors stable, but it basically averages their priorities, except for the Sol system. It's just if that is lost, you lose the whole system. But beyond that, for the other systems, it averages all of their priority numbers. And if the average is, on average, if they're stable, then you have stabilized the segmentum. And what I've done is I've already tested all the math, and I know that I have, you can play this and you can get the entire map, all the segmentums, you can get them stable. But I had to lose half the galaxy to do that. And one of them was the 500 worlds of Ultramar. So it's encouraged to, not only can you get them stable, that's like the first challenge, and then I'm playing more to say, okay, but now can I save the really important sectors? Because some of them I had to let something really important die just to stabilize the segmentum. So again, and this is also fun if you're using this for like a Crusade campaign, if you want to go in and edit it. I'll show you guys the brains behind it in a moment. But first, let's talk about how to fix things. So if you scroll on over, there's a little word test there. It says shuffle your assets, but don't break the Imperium. You cannot deploy more forces than you currently own. So all of your forces are currently deployed in this segmentum. And within the segmentum, you can shuffle them, but you can't send one unit from this segmentum to another segmentum. Just because the way warp travel works, it's not reliable. And this is Roboute really just looking at, as he's woken up, what can he fix within this segmentum? There might be a version 2 where I have a few places where you can send, like maybe you could dispatch the Minotaurs from Terra to another, segmentum, but that's not there yet. So you can redeploy everything, but if you have too many units, right? If you throw off this balance, for example, I'm going to send the Custodes to Armageddon. So I'm going to pull out the Black Templars, and I'm going to send in the Custodes. So let me find my Custodes. Boom. I've now sent the Custodes to Armageddon. However, my integrity of my system is unresolved. What that means is my math isn't mathing, and that's because I have 2 instances of Custodes, and there's just not that many Custodes to go around. Now, I did pull the Black Templars, so I could put none here, and we're still at unresolved because I've got some Black Templars to play with. So I could put the Black Templars to, what segmentum is that? That is going to be the Beta Garmin cluster. I'll throw the Black Templars on the Beta Garmin cluster. So they're here now. Now my data is resolved. That doesn't mean the sector is good. In fact, I lost Terra. I could tell I lost Terra because Terra, the Sol system, is now threatened. And because it's threatened, we lose the priority, and we just lost 100 priority from our average, and so Terra is lost, and the Segmentum Solar is lost. So by pulling the Custodes and sending them to Armageddon, I've ruined the system. But so as you play around with it, you can you got to be smart, and also certain units can butt heads and they have strife with one another. Also, other units are good against certain enemies. Now, by my intention, that's hidden. However, there is a way to see all of that if you need a cheat sheet. Though I would say the real challenge comes from just trying to figure out, based on the lore, what do certain units do good against, what do they do bad against. So, for example, the Armageddon Steel Legion is actually really good against the Goths. And the Black Templars are also, well, they actually have, I won't tell you who they're good against, but they have strife with the ecclesiarchy. So they're causing issues on the ecclesiarchy. So by pulling them away and adding the custodes, Armageddon got a big boost, but not enough to gain the system back. So by playing around with the units and wondering who does good against what, and who has synergy, who has strife, you can balance the system. Now, it still might not be enough. The math might still not work out in your favor. And so what you can do is you can export goods from one sector to another sector within your segmentum. However, you get diminishing returns. So on the secret math page, by exporting, you actually lose like a value of 2, and you only gain a value of 1 at where you set it. So what I could do is I could export, let's say, the Sol system. I'm going to have them help Armageddon. So now the Sol system is fueling the war on Armageddon. And with the right, Armageddon is now threatened instead of lost. So we've made ground on Armageddon, but we're not there yet. And so again, I played around with this just to make sure the game actually is winnable, which is lucky me, because how I created this was I actually created the map with all the segmentums, and then I'm not like a lore buff kind of guy. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love listening to Warhammer war videos or lore videos, but I had to do some research, and I had to research every segmentum, and I had to look up who was there, who was active in the area. So I set kind of who I think is active at each campaign and each sector at this point at 10th edition during the Indomitus Crusade. But from there, I set who was good, who was bad, and kind of set the system. So that's why everything's lost right now. And then I went and played with it to see if I could fix everything. And it is possible. You can stabilize the entire galaxy for the Imperium. It's possible. I promise you, I've done it. But I could do it better. I was a little sloppy in how I assigned things because I just really wanted to make the status of everything go to stable, right? So have fun with the game. You can play it to see, okay, can I stabilize the Imperium? Can I make it so everything is stable? And then play it again and see if you can make it more stable. And then keep the Excel spreadsheet, and you can change the data to however you want it to be. So let me show you some of the behind the scenes. So what there is down here, we've got some hidden sheets, right? So you can look at, we'll look at the sector math first. So the sector math, that's going to be, and let me take my beautiful face off. So that's going to show you the system, and it's going to show you what the math is. So the supply, what the threats are doing to the system. If there's strife between your assets, you'll get another -1. So the Beta Garmin cluster, I caused a problem there by sending the wrong unit there. And ultimately, what you're gaining from imports, how much you're losing from exports, and then what the total is. And then it focuses on the average. Oops, wrong screen. It focuses on what's the average, and then that'll tell you if you're winning or losing. So if you really need help, you can go peek at the math and see if you have some trouble there. Now, you can also go to the asset data, and by messing around with this, you can actually shuffle how many of the units you have in each sector, and you can add units. You could subtract units. And so when I was originally messing with the math, for example, the Ultima segmentum originally had, I had 6 instances of the Astra Militarum, and instead I added the Cadian. So I had 6 instances of just the basic Astra Militarum. And then what I did here, let me bring this over more, was I actually turned 3 of those into Cadia, Catachin, and Krieg. And by making that little shift, it actually balanced some of the math for you guys. So you can go and you can play with the units there. You can also set it for your own Crusade data or whatever you want to do with this sheet. And then if you go to the actual data, you can see some of the tables I've set up. And you can play with some of the behind the scenes, or it explains, what causes various math. But then in the middle, we've got our threats here. And these are all the threats you have to play with the game. This is who they do good against, or who does good against them, right? So High Fleet Leviathan struggles against Ultramarines and the Astra Militarum, right? High Fleet Behemoth struggles against the Ultramarines and the Imperial Navy, right? That kind of thing. And then if you go over here, it's throwing me off having all these screens. Then we've got all of our assets we can play with, so Space Wolves and Grey Knights and all that. And then who they have strife with. Space Wolves don't get along with Grey Knights. If you know the lore, you know why. And then who counters the Space Wolves? If you have Space Wolves as an enemy on a planet, like the Space Wolves have gone off the rails and are causing issues, you send some Dark Angels at them, because the Dark Angels, they've got a good rivalry and they typically win. So you can mess around with all the various forces you have there. But yeah, so essentially that's my really, really nerdy Excel spreadsheet, that you guys can play around with and have fun. Regent of the Imperium, be Roboute Guilliman, can you fix the galaxy? This is not a game for everyone. This is a game for people with severe autism and nerdiness, like myself. Someone who just wants, I literally sit down, I'm like, let me just play with these Excel sheets and see if I can fix the galaxy. It was fun to do. I'm happy to share it with you guys. If you hate it, feel free to hate it. If you love it, feel free to love it. All in all, there are no ads on my websites. I'm not making any money off of this. My YouTube channel is not monetized. My main job is I'm a trauma support specialist and I help people with mental health. That's my passion. That's why I wake up in the morning. This is just my hobby. This is what I do for fun, and I'm happy to share it with you guys and give some to the community. So I hope you guys have fun. Typically, my content revolves around things that dads can do with their kids, or brothers can play together, or families playing together. That's my main goal. This is a little bit more solo, but if it helps you on a crusade campaign, have fun with it. All in all, typically my videos will focus on what it's like to be a dad and a wargamer. You guys have a good one. This has been New Game Plus. I'm Bryce Newberger. I will see you guys on the next one. Bye.